Hi everybody, I'm Pia from Stitches and Scraps. Today I'm going to show you how to sew an invisible seam between perpendicular edges of crochet. By that I mean we have one edge that's either a top or bottom where you're working into the stitches, and then you have another edge which is a side edge where you're working into the sides of the row. This project that I'm working on here is actually bag number 5 in the 2022 Bag Along Crochet Along. So this is my Classic Cables Tote Bag. You can find the pattern for this bag in the description on this video. This is the seam that we'll be working on. It is the bottom edge of one panel of the bag and the side edge of this bottom strip of the bag. So this is the other panel of the bag, and I've already sewn this seam. This is the finished seam that we're going for, where you can still see the little V's from the bottom of my stitches, but you don't see that rough edge from the side edge at all. It's tucked underneath. So let's take a look at how to do that. The first thing is to arrange both pieces with the right sides facing up. So if I was folding it like this, the wrong sides would be together and the right sides would be facing out. And then I've pinned it together at strategic points, in this case, where I want the cable to line up and where the center should be. So that way I can keep myself on track and my seam won't get skewed as I go across. Then I attached a length of yarn to sew with by weaving it in at the back of this piece here. Now this is a bottom edge, not a top edge, but the reason that I have these beautiful V's on the end is because when I made the first row, I worked into the back bumps. So that left me with this nice clean edge to seam into. You can do this if you crocheted normally, like if you crocheted into the 2 loops, then you would just have this 1 loop to seam into. This seam works best if you have both loops or if you're working on a top edge where you have both loops. But on the bottom edge, you can do this if you just have 1 loop as well. I've brought my yarn up very close to where I want to start my first stitch, but not quite in the same hole. Do you see where this stitch marker is going in right there? That is the actual hole where I want to start my first stitch. So I'm going to put my stitch in that hole right there. Okay, I'm going to put my needle in through there and I'm going to bring it out on this side underneath that edge of the stitch, underneath that V. Okay, so I'm going from top to bottom down through the stitch on the side where I'm working on the side, and then from bottom to top up through the V of the stitch where I'm working on the bottom edge. Now because this is the very first stitch and it's the corner of the bag, I'm actually going to take a little stitch backwards into that corner just to give it a little extra strength. But normally, like if you're not going around a corner like that, you wouldn't. But in this case, I'm going to be going around the corner, so I'm going to take that extra stitch and I'm going to come right back where I was and right back out where I was, just giving me 1 extra little stitch at the end to really hold that corner in place. Now I can take this stitch marker out and I'm only going to focus on the stitches up to this next stitch marker. So for each of these stitches, my stitch marker snagged a little bit, so I've got a little bump there. For each of these stitches, I'm going to go forward from this stitch to this stitch, and I'm going to go down from the top to the bottom on the piece where I'm working on the bottom edge of the piece, where I'm working into the stitches. I'm going to go down just behind that V. So almost as if I was making a crochet stitch, right? In the same spot where I would put my hook, that's where I'm going down, right behind that V, okay? Then I'm going to go from front to back. So see, it's going to wrap over the edge here, go from front to back through the side of this stitch on the bottom piece. And then when I come back out, I'm going to go straight back where I came in from. So this yarn is coming out of here, right? I'm basically picking up this bottom piece and pulling it straight back through the hole I came from, just like that. So now that bottom piece is anchored underneath that stitch. Do you see how when I pull, it tucks the end of that underneath that stitch? That's what I'm looking for. I want this edge to get tucked underneath that edge. So now I go down in the next stitch from top to bottom. Find the coordinating spot on the side edge here and come back up from bottom to top through the same stitch. Okay, and I keep doing that for every stitch all the way down, just like that. Top to bottom, catch a bit of the side edge, and then bottom to top. So another way to look at that instead of top and bottom is right side to wrong side. See, if I'm holding it like this, this is the right side and that's the wrong side. So right side to wrong side. Catch a little bit of this side edge and then wrong side to right side. Now I've reached the stitch marker, I can remove that and go on to the next stitch marker. Now this seam I find easiest to work flat on a table like this, but you can pick it up. I've got my wrong sides together, okay? I'm holding just this section where I want to work, and I'm going again from the right side to the wrong side through that V of those, that's next stitch, right? So go through the V, and then right side to wrong side through the side edge and back out the V. So you can definitely do this holding it up like this as well. It goes through the V, catch the side edge, and back through the V. The whole point of this is it's picking up this side edge and tucking it back underneath that V, so that when we're finished, all you'll see is those pretty little V's and not any of the rough side edge of the piece that you're joining. I'm coming to the edge of my seam here. So I just have a few more stitches to go. And again, I keep going all the way to the very last stitch with, going down underneath that V and then picking up the side edge and coming right back up through the V that I just went into. So there's my last stitch. I'm going to go ahead and remove this stitch marker. Get that tail out of my way. Come down in that stitch. Pick up the side edge and back up through that stitch. Now, if I was stopping here, I would go ahead and weave in my ends, but in this case, I'm going to continue to sew this side of the bag to this side of the bag. So that's a completely different seam. So I'm going to leave this end for me to use when I do that. And that's how you do an invisible seam on perpendicular edges of crochet, where you have the top or bottom edge of one piece and the side edge of another piece. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends, or leave me a comment. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great videos. Thanks for watching.